The light of Christ shines in our midst. Let us come to the light. The Lord be with you. Welcome to this time of worship. We begin by acknowledging that the land that we stand upon is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Neutral peoples, the Chippewas of the Nawash and the Neutral peoples, and the Odawa and the Saugeen Ojibwe peoples. We recognize and value the First Peoples' continued stewardship of the land and the water. We acknowledge that the treaties of the past still impact our work towards truth and reconciliation. This territory was subject to treaties under which multiple nations agreed to care for the land and the resources by the Great Lakes in peace. We also acknowledge and recognize the Upper Canada treaties signed in regards to this land, which include Treaty Number 29 and Treaty Number 45 and a half. Our role as treaty people commits us to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation, gratitude, and respect with our Indigenous neighbors. A few things to share by way of announcement. Most of them are in print. You can look to them for further information. If you would like to volunteer to upgrade or renew your Safe Food Handler's certificate, there's a test for that. It costs $10, and that's going to happen on May the 24th. And you contact Jean and her numbers or the office, and those phone numbers are in the bulletin today. Fishes and Loaves, which provide a meal for people in the community in the first Tuesday of the month, are looking for some more volunteers each month for morning or afternoon shifts, particularly if we start feeding people in person again and not with just takeout meals. So the more we have, the more we can offer. Our 10th anniversary as an amalgamated congregation at Lakeshore will be celebrated with an open mic and coffee house evening on Saturday, June the 10th. Just let us know if you're coming, or show up and we'll make you welcome. Bring along a potluck snack item of some kind and enjoy that time together. We invite you to participate in a reading and reflection on a novel that came out a few years ago, but it's a wonderful one. It's called This Is How It Always Is by Lori Frankel, and then we'll have a chat about that book on Saturday morning, June the 29th at 9:30. Make sure I have your email address so we can have a Zoom conversation about that book. And there is coffee time following worship today, so please feel free to stay for some conversation and refreshments after worship. Okay, so everyone who is a mother or grandmother, please stand up or just raise your hand, whatever's most comfortable for you. We salute you. No, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. If you have cared for a friend or a neighbor or another loved one, raise your hand or stand up. If you've ever cared for a pet, raise your hand. If you've ever cared for a garden or a house plant, raise your hand. If you've ever cared, well, that gets just about everybody. It's all about the love. It's all about the caring. It's all about how we work together in this world, looking after one another and offering ourselves as the family of God. Our first hymn, Blessed Be the Tie That Binds, hymn number 602. We join in our call to worship for this day. Come, mothers and all who parent. Come, all who have mothers or parents. Come, those for whom today is hard, those for whom today brings grief for many reasons, those who need to be enfolded in the care of this community.
Today we worship in music and prayer the God who loves us with a maternal love, a love beyond anything we could ask or imagine or hope for.
Come, as part of the whole blessed human family, let us worship God. Our gathering song is "As Comes the Breath of Spring," verse 1. We join in our prayer of approach. Let us pray. Gracious God, holy God, we come to share in your love and your word. We come to give you our love in worship and self-offering. We come to share faith as a community of believers who are part of your global family. Open our ears, our minds, our hearts, our spirits, and let us leave to share your word and love this day, tomorrow, and always with hope and joy. Let us sow seeds and take root and blossom and flourish in others' lives and in this world, so that they and all creation know that they are precious in your sight and held in your heart. Amen. Now I invite you in a way that is safe by just waving hands or bowing or namaste or some greeting of such sort to share the peace of Christ row to row, pew to pew, side to side, top to bottom, and front to back. However you feel to do that. Peace of Christ be with you. Peace of Christ. Children who are with us to come forward. We'll wait for you to get here. Yeah. Just one? You're just going to stay there? Okay, that's fine. Well, I know that's always frightening when you're the only one, so that's okay. Thank you for coming. Okay, all right. So, what's it like to be known? I know some things. I know you're about this high, and I know you have, I think, what look like lovely blue eyes, and I know some people wear glasses like I do, and then that's your sister, right? And she's about this high, right? And so I know some things about you. I think you probably got 40,254 hairs on your head. But I don't know for sure. I think I know your name, but don't tell me, because I should know your name. I don't know everybody's name here yet, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to get there. So before you come the next time, figure out a way to let me know what your name is without talking. Okay? And then the good news is somebody does know your name, other than your friends and your family, and that would be God. God knows us all by name, and it's a really comforting thing to know that we're known by someone who cares for everyone in the world, and always has and always will. God even knows for sure how many hairs are on your head and mine. Whoa, awesome. All right, you can collect coins, and we'll sing, Yes, I have called you by my name. Thank you. All right, our reader isn't able to be with us today, so you have to listen to me read. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. The gospel lesson is found in John's Gospel, another one of stories of Jesus, one that he probably shared with that inner circle of followers of his, and it's found in chapter 10 of John's Gospel, and it sounded, I think, something perhaps like this. Very truly I tell you, whoever enters the sheepfold, not by the gate, but some other way around, is a thief or a bandit. The one who does enter by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for that one, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls all the sheep by name. And he leads them out. And after he has led out all of his own, he goes on ahead of them, and they follow him because they know the shepherd's voice. They will not follow a stranger. They will run from him because they do not know the stranger's voice. Jesus spoke to his followers using this figure of speech, but they didn't understand what he was saying. So he said to them again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. Others who came before me, all of them were thieves and bandits, and the sheep did not pay attention to them or follow them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me shall feel secure and protected and safe. And they will come in and go out and find pasture. Thieves and bandits only come to steal or kill or destroy. I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. Word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Holy God, as we reflect on your word this day, grant us listening ears, attentive hearts, and receptive spirits. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Long before the Geico Insurance Gecko and Fido for cell phones, there was another well-known company mascot. Eldridge R. Johnson got the patent to use him as the trademark logo for his product on July 10th, 1900. And he got it from Emil Berliner's German company. Emil had seen the creature in a painting in their London office in 1899, but by the time the patent became available, the Berliner company had just about gone bust. So Eldridge Johnson took over the patent, and his company made vinyl records in both 78 and 33.3 RPM speeds. And they made the machines on which to play them, which were in 1900 were called gramophones. So here's Nipper, who for years and years was the trademark for the RCA Victor Company, a.k.a. the Victor Talking Machine Company, HMV and JVC these days. And the slogan that accompanied Nipper and the gramophone was, listening to his master's voice. Ages ago, as Jesus moved about the hills and valleys of Galilee, he used a similar image as a trademark way of talking about his relationship with his followers. He was a keen observer of first-century Palestinian shepherds. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name. and he leads them out. It remains true of Palestinian shepherds or Israeli shepherds to this day. In his popular version of the New Daily Study Bible, published around 1979, William Barclay includes another scholar's encounter with an actual Palestinian shepherd as a commentary on the opening verses of this 10th chapter of the Gospel of John. On some high moor across which at night the hyenas howl, you meet him. There he is, sleepless, far-sighted, weather-beaten, armed, leaning on his staff, and looking out over his scattered sheep, every one of them on his heart. Constant vigilance, fearless courage, and patient love. Jesus, the Good Shepherd, watches over and cares for his followers with similar diligence. A bit later on in that same commentary, Barclay describes another shepherd. Sometimes he talks to them in a loud, sing-song voice using a weird language unlike anything else I've ever heard in my life. That voice is only recognized by that shepherd's particular sheep. It can get them to move or stay put. It can settle them down when they experience panic. Familiar voices are like that. Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy could capture the attention of whole nations. Ethel Merman held her own on any Broadway stage, and Eva Perón spoke for Argentina. Remember how your parents could communicate what they thought of your behavior, wanted you to do by the way they spoke your name? Because there's a difference between Deirdre, sweetie, and Deirdre Anna Mae Catherine O'Shea? Harry Lee Dishier. Harry, are you busy? Jesus yet keeps watch. Jesus somehow still speaks and knows us by name. Are we listening? And if we do hear, do we pay attention? Even Jesus advised caution. When the shepherd has brought the sheep out, he goes ahead of them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow someone else. Instead, they'll run away from such a person because they don't know that person's voice. The hireling, the impostor, climbs into the fold without using the gate. The impostor sneaks in to steal or do harm. The impostor tries to imitate the shepherd's voice, but attentive sheep know the difference. Remember Ella Fitzgerald, the jazz and blues legend, the mezzo-soprano who could yet hear some very, very high notes. Many of us are old enough to remember the shattered wine glasses. Was it really Ella's voice? Or was it Memorex? I suspect we don't all hear Jesus' voice in the same tone or resonance or inflection. How do we differentiate between the real voice of Jesus and an imitator or a phony? By the way, it's not all that weird to believe that we somehow hear Jesus' voice or God's voice addressing us. Joan of Arc should never have been burned for hearing her voices. How do we know it is Jesus speaking? Well, if what we hear in answer to our prayers isn't exactly the answer we already had in mind before we prayed, that's probably Jesus. If the voice we hear is pushing us a tad beyond our comfort zone, that's likely Jesus. If the voice we hear affirms that we are loved and acceptable when we're feeling like dirt, that's pretty much Jesus for certain. And if the voice we hear tells us we are not alone and says something like, "Hold my hand," that's also pretty much Jesus for certain. And oh, how sweet the sound, yes? As I visited a number of persons connected to this congregation who can't easily attend church anymore, I hear wonderful testimonies of faith from them about how Jesus has been present as friend, comforter, teacher, and source of strength. In one congregation I was serving recently, I conducted a short poll during a service of worship, and in just a few minutes I got back some amazing responses. Here's a sample of the responses to a question I asked. How do you see your service related to your faith? It's inseparable. It's the living, demonstrable part. I am my religion, my connection to God, and through it I have and share love, compassion, and knowledge. Oh, anytime children can hear of God's love, can experience a positive time of community, and can be encouraged to choose what's right when faced with a decision, that's what I want to be a part of. Faith in God gives me the courage and energy to try to manage or support others and to handle tragic and complex issues. Mercy allows confidence that my mistakes and errors will be forgiven. I value the importance of singing about the Lord and personally being able to worship God. Family and community connections are opportunities to love and support others as Jesus showed us. What might be your answer to that question? How do you connect service and faith? Imagine after a brief time of conversation in small groups that we might gather those stories. They would bear witness to how the Holy Spirit is active here and now. How the voice of Jesus, the call, the touch of God upon our lives is heard and is motivational. And how might we endeavor to share those stories in person or through social media? It's also true that we get the honor and nerve to listen to Jesus and echo Jesus in the hardest of times, in those Good Friday times. In Stories of Faith, John Shea includes this one. A young man is tending to his dying father. The father, still quite young himself, is dying of cancer and dying hard. The disease is terminal. It's literally wasted his body, and now, long after he should already be dead, he lies in the hospital still clinging to life. His body's full of tubes, and despite the best efforts of morphine, he's still in constant pain. Each night, after work, his son comes, sits by the bed, holds his father's hand, and watches helplessly while his dad suffers. This goes on for a number of days. And finally, one night, sitting like this, son says to the father, "Dad, let go. Trust God. Dying is better than this." And within a short time, father grows peaceful and dies. And the son realizes he has just given voice to an important truth. A truth about letting go and trusting God. For this man, coached into death by a loving son, Good Friday has just taken place. And like Jesus, he was finally able to give his spirit over to God. Good Friday took place in the full confidence that Easter would once again soon follow. The Jesus who will somehow be there to call us and welcome us finally home when we die is the Jesus who calls us to live with faith and hope and blessing here and now, every day, and to take up the challenges of discipleship head on and heart deep. There's something more than life-giving about maintaining our connection with Jesus. Something that draws more than the best out of us. Something that fills us with hope and joy and promise beyond words. Terry Butler is a conservative Christian pastor who became very active in the Vineyard Church community movement. But you can sense in most of his praise songs lyrics how much it matters to him to try to listen to the voice of Jesus. Witness, for instance, the words of "Cry of my heart." It's the cry of my heart to follow you. It's the cry of my heart to be close to you. It's the cry of my heart to follow all the days of my life. Teach me your holy ways, O Lord, so I can walk in your truth. Teach me your holy ways, O Lord, and make me wholly devoted to you. It's the cry of my heart. And 2 years after her marriage to the distinguished Dr. William Alexander, who would become the Archbishop of Ireland in the 1860s, Cecil Frances Alexander was given a small assignment by her minister husband. She had already composed over 400 hymns and poems for children in the churches of England, and he hoped that she might come up with a poem to wind out his sermon on St. Andrew's Day in 1852. That day on the church calendar recognized the moment when Jesus called Andrew and his brother Simon Peter to drop their nets and follow. Dr. Alexander valued his wife's new poem so much that he used it to end that sermon. And it continues to be sung in churches, challenging God's people to hear Jesus' voice. It's the hymn we know, and it begins, Jesus calls us o'er the tumult of our life's wild, restless sea. Day by day, his clear voice sounding, saying, Christian, follow me. And it ends with, Savior, may we hear thy call. Give our hearts to thine obedience, serve and love thee best of all. When he has brought them all out, goes on ahead of them. And they follow him because they recognize his voice. Jesus, like a mother hen, is ever near to listen and direct us and take us under his wing. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. How sweet the very thought and name of Jesus the Christ, still calling us by name. Like Nipper with his ears fixed on the gramophone, let us tune our ears to our Master's voice. It will set our hearts bleeding, our nerves on fire, and align our lives with the will of God. Thanks be to such a Christ and such a God, for they are one. Our hymn is The King of Love, number 273. You may have noted from the treasurer's words in the bulletin that we're on track in terms of supporting the ministry of this church and the mission of this church so far this year, close to where we were and similar to last year. My understanding, though, is that the Mission and Service Fund is a bit behind from where it was last year, so here's a minute for mission to remind us that beyond our walls, the United Church of Canada touches and impacts many lives if we support our Mission and Service Fund. We all need someone who believes in us, someone who supports our dreams. Here's a story of how our belief and support make all the difference. In 2017, Arwa Nofel was a Palestinian refugee who had just arrived in Montreal. She had made a harrowing journey, traveling from Saudi Arabia through New York City with 3 children in tow. It wasn't easy for me. I was a single mom in a new country with new people. I was struggling for housing and looking for a job. It wasn't easy at all, she says. Arwa sought help at the Montreal City Mission, an outreach ministry that our mission and service gifts support. And there, her whole family found a place to belong. Arwa's children made friends, and she benefited from training programs and events. And it wasn't long before Arwa gathered a group of women together to form a catering cooperative called Women Weaving Their Dreams, which specializes in making homemade Middle Eastern meals. The group was going strong, and the women were becoming more financially secure when COVID-19 struck. But no stranger to hardship, Arwa was determined to help others throughout the pandemic. She initiated a sewing circle to make masks, and in a relatively short period of time, the women of that sewing group made over 2,000 cloth masks for unhoused people and people with low incomes in their community. I was so happy to help people, says Arwa, whose extraordinary leadership skills landed her a full-time job now at Montreal City Mission. I consider myself a lucky person that I got to know this organization. It has become not only my full-time job, not only my provider, it has become my home. I hope to see more and more women getting the same chance to have this better life for their families, she says. I wanted a country that could hold me and hug me my whole life long. I found it in Canada. Our mission and service gives support people's dreams for that better life. Amazing people who wind up making their communities and our country stronger. You know that the Spirit moves in amazing ways. Doug did not know that I was going to reference that hymn when he planned to play that today, when I was talking about it in the sermon. Woohoo! Go, God, go! Let's present our gifts. Let us join in prayer. Raise us to life, O God, with gifts that disclose generosity, with gifts that banish fear, with gifts that bring us together, with gifts that reflect the Christ, with gifts that show compassion. Raise us to life, O God. Through these gifts we offer this day, may we bring Easter hope. In Jesus' name, amen. Let us pray. Today, O God, as we gather and honor you on Christian Family Sunday, we give thanks for and pray for our families and for the whole family of faith, which includes this congregation and millions throughout the world who honor you and seek to travel in their paths of holiness and right relationships. We thank you for families rooted in love, where values are learned and characters formed, where many lives are filled with hopefulness and joy in the valuing of one another. We thank you for the treasured memories and wisdom of seniors and elders. We thank you for those adult relationships that grow dearer with time, for the nurture and care of parents, for the stories and shared experiences that bind families together. We thank you for the enthusiasm of youth and their willingness to explore new ideas. Grant them the confidence to head into the future with hope and imagination. And we thank you for the energy, laughter, and curiosity of children. We thank you for friends and neighbors and pets with whom we share love and life. We acknowledge that there are times when families and family members disappoint us. Sometimes people fight and hurt one another. Let there be reconciliation and forgiveness. Where there is pain, resentment, or bitterness in family circles, may your Spirit enter in to bring some form of healing love. Our hearts are open to families who suffer violence, abuse, or dislocation. Let us bring attentive ears and deep compassion to any who harbor painful family memories. We pray with hope that families may often and ever be a source of blessing and abundant life. But where that fails to be true, may there be other circles of support and care that bring blessing and assurance to those who are broken and wounded. Here, as church, we are connected as brothers, sisters, and siblings in Christ. Today, let us renew our commitment to one another and to the journey in faith that we share. Continue to equip us to be agents of your inbreaking realm of wholeness and fullness of life for all and for all creation. And as Jesus invited us to pray and work for that realm, we gather our prayers together in the words he taught us, saying, Our Father and Mother, who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hymn number 556. Let us go now into life in the world, that we may offer to those with whom we share life and to those whom we meet the love, grace, joy, and peace which are ours in Christ, who knows us by name. Let us go held in the heart of our mothering God, taught and guided by the wisdom of a mentoring Jesus, inspired and equipped for ministry and mission by an empowering Holy Spirit. May it be so.